Hello everyone, welcome back to another late war battle report, again using another mission from the Vavan SS D-Day book. This time it's the Encirclement mission, and we are having Sherrie attacking with a British D-Day force. So in front of you we have her main formation, which is a Sherman DD formation. So we have a HQ of 2 Shermans, and then 2 troops of 3 Shermans and a troop of 3 Fireflies, and that is it for that formation. We do have a second formation. We have a British Rifle Company from the 3rd Infantry Division, and it contains the HQ of 2 SMG teams, and then we have 3 full platoons of infantry. So that is 7 rifle brand gun teams, a Piat and a knee mortar. Also in the formation are 4 MMG carriers and 3 Wasps, and in support we have 2 AVREs over here. Command cards, we have the Monty's Ironside, so that is the 3rd Infantry Division, so that basically upgrades the HQ and rifle platoons to 3rd Division, basically giving them a better rally. And the second command card is the Kangaroo Transporter, which you can see. So this basically gives them a Defrock Priest, so that's 3 for each rifle platoon and 1 for the HQ, and of course that's 3 points per platoon, so that's 12 points total spent there on the transport, making this a rather mobile rifle company. I do actually have 4 Defrock Priests I've converted myself, so I just basically bought the priest box, didn't put the gun in, and I had a few spare passengers for British infantry. The other 6 though are just American priests. So I did have some, but not enough for Sherrie. And we do have one more final command card, and that is the lucky card. So this is a 109 point battle this time. So yeah, a little bit more to play with, but we'll end up sticking more with the 100 points in future. So this is what Sherrie is using, and your opponent today is going to be Mike, and let's see what he's using from the D-Day German list. Okay, and here is Mike's list. Bit surprised what he picked for defense, but I'm sure he knows what he's doing. So as you can see, his only formation is a Panther Company. Not much points left over after you take a company of these guys. So we have a HQ of 2 Panthers and then 2 platoons of 3. Now the rest of his force is made up of 2 heavy AA guns, so the 88s, 2 Pumas, and a full Panzer Grenadier platoon with a Panzerfaust. And that is it. So it's going to be interesting to see how he defends with this lot against the horde of very mobile British infantry. So let's have a look at the board and then we'll get into the game. Okay, so here's the board set up. You can see all the dice down to mark out the deployment zones and where the objectives will go. So we've got some fields and hedgerows around this little town here, church up here and a little shop, a shallow river, so this is basically difficult terrain, and we've got a ford up by here, so you can just drive straight over that. Likewise with the bridge, a little bit of a battered town over here, a few more fields and more hedgerows in the corner. So Mike has picked this long edge to defend, so his deployment zone kind of goes from these dice up here and then juts out beyond the centre line, goes across and then back down, and then you can see the British dice mark out where the British player, in this case Sherrie, can put her objectives, and Sherrie will be deploying in these corners and she has to split. She can have 40 to 60% in each corner, so the British force will need to be divided amongst these two, so it'll be quite interesting. So I'm just about to put down Sherrie's objectives, and then we'll see how they both deploy. Okay, so this is deployment for Mike. We have a platoon of Panthers and the Panzer Grenadiers in reserve, and the AA-88s are in ambush. So we have 2 Pumas here, skulking behind the houses, 3 Pumas distributed amongst the fields here, good lines of fire going up the road and between the houses, and then the HQ is on this side of the river in the forest. British have to split their force, no more than 60% can go in each deployment zone. So here for the British we have the Fireflies right at the front, with a DD platoon and the HQ in close proximity. We also have a platoon of infantry. They're dismounted from the transport, but the transport with them anyway, and the HQ and AVREs are in this section as well. Now on to the second section, we have 2 mounted platoons of infantry, some more Sherman DDs, and then all the universal carriers, so the Wasps and the MMG carriers. The British have first turn, and best of luck to both players. Okay, opening moves on the right flank for the British. One of the teams has moved into a minefield. When you go into a minefield you need to do a cross check. So for the British it's skill, so it's not cross check, it's a skill test. Sherrie rolled a 4. So this gentleman here has not triggered the mines, luckily. The rest of the platoon is staying outside of the mines, so hopefully if he stays there next turn, Sherrie can issue an order and that minefield will be gone. The HQ is moved up behind for support. The Fireflies have moved down the road. This one tried to cross the hedge, needing a 3+ cross check, but failed. So the other Shermans are moved behind, and the HQ has remained where it is. So, I'll just put a gone to ground. Oh no. This 2IC moved to the side of the HQ. The Shermans on the right flank have moved over to more of the centre, and everything else is pushing towards the town. So the Wasps and 2nd platoon on the left, and 3rd platoon and the MMGs on the right. These ones did try to do a follow me, but the Kangaroos, or the Defrock Priests, motivations are 5, so that was not enough. So that is it for movement, and there will be some shooting this turn, so let's see what happens. Okay, so the Sherman and Fireflies open fired onto the Panthers. As you can see, not much damage. This guy was long range, so it was long range, concealment and gone to ground, so they required 7s to hit. Sherrie rolled a 1, and then this guy again, he was short range, so just required a 6, but Sherrie rolled another 1. The 3 Shermans behind, because of the range, given +1 to the armour of the Panthers, could not hurt them, so they fired smoke rounds. Again requiring a 7, and in total the 3 dice Sherrie rolled only added up to a 6, so again that was not enough, and that was pretty much all that Sherrie could fire that turn. So with the Panthers unscathed, it's looking a bit dicey for these Shermans coming down the road. So we'll be getting into Mike's motivation, which is none, but he does have ambush and reserves to bring on, so and these look good size areas to bring in the 88s if they can. So we'll see where he puts everything going into German turn 1. Okay, the 88s have sprung from their ambush by here, quite good. So basically this guy is covering the objective, and this guy should be able to shoot quite easily over this way, and there may be a bit of concealment this way, but all good for the 88s. Mike did not roll the 5+ required for his reserves, so there'll be no reserves coming in, and we'll see what the Germans are going to do for movement. A lot of to deal with, either flank, but they do have the big guns, so let's see where movement ends up. Okay, so the only movement was from the Pumas. Mike did attempt to do a blitz move, so that would have just been a little 4-inch little jump for them, and then they've had no penalty to their shooting, but unfortunately he rolled a 2, needing a 3+, so he moved them anyway, just to put some suppressing fire on the infantry as they're coming down into the minefield. And apart from that, everything stayed put, and the Panthers are going to try and whittle down as many of these on-rushing Shermans as possible. So let's see how that ends up. Okay, going from left to right, the the Pumas need a little bit trickier to hit with their failed blitz. Managed to wipe out one of the teams, but unfortunately not the one in the minefield. The Panther fired his MGs up here. Again, didn't kill anyone. These two Panthers managed to bail out two of the Sherman Fireflies, but the two 88s managed to kill two of them and bail the final one, so the Fireflies are down to one. And then on the right over here, the Panthers split their fire. So this guy fired across table on to the Shermans over here, and this guy fired up onto the transports coming towards him. So as you can see, a bail hit was done by here, and a kill was done over here. So a lot of the hits were swapped by Sherrie onto ones further back, just to stop things getting in the way. And that's where we end things in the German turn. So now we go into British turn 2. Okay, in the motivation phase, the Firefly managed to get back in and stuck around thanks to the HQ. In the movement, the minefield has been cleared, so this gentleman here has to stay put, and the infantry are rushing forward, hopefully to get into an assault with the Pumas. There's some support fire coming in from the Defrock Priests, and hopefully a lucky hit from the Piat as well, so we'll see what happens there. The Fireflies stay put to maximise the number of shots on the Panthers, while the rest of the Shermans are rushing up the road. In the centre, the other Shermans are taking cover behind a stone wall, and we'll put some fire down onto the 88 in the woods. All the infantry have dismounted, so 2nd platoon have occupied this terrace, and 3rd platoon have occupied this detached house, and some of them are spilling into the alleyway. We forgot to move those, so I'll get Sherrie to see where she wants them, and the Wasps have dashed round, flanking around the town. So that is British movement, so we'll see now what they can achieve in the shooting this time, so hopefully a bit better than they did last time. Okay, so far in the shooting phase, I don't think I've seen Sherrie roll a 6 yet, so this is getting a bit of a problem. Did get a couple of hits on the Pumas with the 50 cals. Basically, Mike didn't need to roll a 1, he rolled a 2, so just about enough. The Firefly failed to hit. The two Shermans managed to get a hit, and again, Mike rolled a 2, so it was just enough. Over here, the 3 Shermans fired at the 88, requiring 6s, and Sherrie got 3 5s, so that's just getting there. And also the MMG carriers tried to fire as well, 2 shots each because of the movement, but only 3 could see, again failing to hit. So hopefully maybe the upcoming assault might be a little bit better for Sherrie, but at the moment really painful dice at the moment, and again things quite stuck in the open here, so let's see how the assault goes. The assault is over, and this is what happened. Only 2 teams were the assaulting teams for the British, and the Panthers had their defensive fire, 6 shots, got 3 hits, but luckily the British managed to shrug it all off. They hit the Pumas twice, but failed to get any kills, so luckily Mike's dice started to go a bit high again. He did attempt a counterattack, but needing a 6, but got a 1, so he's backed away. Now the victorious unit gets to consolidate, so the few teams have occupied this building, and everything else has moved, so the unit leaders stay in here to keep everything in coherency with the transports and stuff. And that is it, so now we're going into a German phase. Okay, so again, no reserves for the Germans yet, and the only movement again was the Pumas. They have backed out a bit since there's infantry in these buildings here. He doesn't want them getting sneaked up, and he is just risking it with the lone Panther by here, so we will see how that pans out. Could be quite interesting, and that is it. So again, we're going into shooting, as we can see the British advancing from all sides. But will the Sherman DD Squadron be around for next turn is the big question, since every one of their units are in the firing line of a big German gun. Okay, so unexpectedly, the only damage really is 1 dead Sherman and 2 bailed Shermans. So when Mike does hit stuff, he is unfortunately failing his firepower. So likelihood that this Sherman might run away, but the HQ is right behind, so the Shermans are still in it as we go into British turn 3. Okay, so with the startup step motivations, this Sherman is back in. He gets a reroll anyway because the HQ's right behind, and luckily he passed the last stand as well. And just in 6 inches command range, this Sherman Firefly, although rolled a 6 for his motivation, so he is well up for this at the moment. So now we get to go into the movement and see as the British keep on pouring on the flanks. Not quite going for the objectives yet, but the Germans are being attacked from all sides at the moment. So let's see how this goes. Okay, with British movement, one of the teams was already within 4 inches, so he'll be able to sneak up in this tank. So the Piat has taken up position in the cafe here, so hopefully they can whittle down the Panther's defensive fire. So the unit leaders by here. With the Kangaroos, hopefully they can bail out some of the Pumas, again limiting the defensive fire of the Germans, so could be an interesting assault here. The HQ Shermans again have pushed up using the cover of their burning tank as cover. These Shermans remaining still. One of the MMG carriers have moved forward to actually be able to see Wasps still skirting around, and the infantry have occupied this damaged terrace building, and the other platoon has hopped over. So things are getting a bit hairy for the Panthers by here. Hopefully they can hold off and basically get some reserves in next turn, which they will, but it is random. So 1, 2, 3 this corner, 3, 4 the board edge, 5, 6 this corner. So Wasps could be in a bit of trouble, but we'll see how it goes as we go into British shooting. Again, not much happening over here. Shermans are hitting and Kangaroos are hitting, but the shots are bouncing off. Little solitary Piat hit by here, but no. Although here an 88 went down thanks to the MMG carriers, and the Piat here did get a hit on the HQ Panther, but unfortunately it bounced off. So we'll have a little think where Sherrie is going to launch an assault. There will be a few things that get cover fire. It'll be this tank here and the 2 Pumas, but this guy will be cut off because of the tank assault. So let's see what she wants to do. Okay, so Sherrie launched an assault with just 2 teams, so the guy who was able to sneak up and 1 more. So with the position they were in, the Pumas could not see over their own guy, so they couldn't fire. This guy did get 2 hits, but did not get any kills. There was a few back and throws. The British did get a few hits, but Mike bounced all the hits, and then the 2 teams got killed, so that's how we left it. And because they were the only 2 assaulting teams, the rest of the guys in the house are still here for now. And that is where we end turn 3 for the British. And now we go into German turn, and they do have a last stand. As you can see, the 88s have failed their last stand, so have run away. But Mike has got his reserves in, and they're all coming in from the end, the long edge. So that's quite a development for the Germans here, so they can reinforce their objectives. So let's see where the movement takes them. Okay, again, this left flank being really pretty static, no movement. The reserve Panthers have come onto the objective, and the Panzer Grenadiers have moved into the forest where there used to be 88s. So now we're going to go into the shooting phase. So I reckon this turn we'll probably see the end of the Sherman Squadron, but they've held out so far, so let's see how it goes. Okay then, so far in the shooting, the Pumas have managed to bail out 2 of the transports, and the Panthers have knocked out the remaining guy of this squadron and the HQ. So all that's left is the Firefly and the 3 DDs, so if this Firefly fails his last stand, that is the Sherman's gone. Only the bail on the Sherman over here, and this Panther managed to knock out 1 of the Wasps as they come in, and these guys hose down the building, but no kills. So that is it. So now we're going into British turn 4 as they need to do their motivation. So that is the end of the motivation. This guy remains bailed out, but most importantly the Firefly is still here, and this guy is out, so the Shermans are in for 1 more turn at least as we go into British movement. Okay, so again, the infantry have moved into position to attack the Panthers. This Piat has got into side arc here, so that's quite dangerous. The Kangaroos are ready to try and suppress the Pumas again. The Firefly maybe might get a hit this time, and these guys have got to within short range. And again, another swarm of infantry have gone onto the Panther HQs with help from the Wasps. And again, there's a guy in the side, well, potential side arc of the Panthers, so potential danger going here for the Germans, so we'll see how it pans out. Okay, so far we have a bailed out Panther. Again, the Firefly is unable to hit anything. Did get a few hits from the Shermans over here, but no bails. The MMGs have wiped out quite a lot. They have wiped out 3 of the Panzer Grenadiers here, and almost a few bales here from the Wasps on the Panthers, so still in the balance here with the assaults, depends how they go, because this Panther will be blocking his shots here, and it'll be very much the same here, but the Pumas are in a position to try and help out if they can, so that is where we end up in the shooting phase. So now we go into the assaults. Okay, so over here, the British didn't actually kill this Panther in the assault. Mike decided to break off, cut his losses, so so he got destroyed, and the British have just gone behind the hedge along with the transport, which I believe is right. And over here, the British failed to hit the Panthers in assault again, but Mike failed his counterattack and luckily managed to get out of the woods unscathed, so that is where we end it for the assault. So now we're going into German turn 4. Okay, so the only motivations for the Germans was to rally these guys, and they did have their HQ, but they do not want to rally, so it will probably be a dig-in test for these gentlemen, and they might not pass that the way they were going, so we're going into German turn 4 for movement. Okay, in the shooting phase, should I say to summarise the movement first, the only thing that happened in the movement was these Panzer Grenadiers dug in. For the shooting phase, these Pumas and these Panthers hosed down the infantry, didn't quite pin them, but they did kill 2 of the bases. Furthermore, these 3 Panthers cleaned up the Shermans, so that Firefly will be going in the British turn. These Grenadiers were out of range or couldn't see, and these 2 Panthers took out 2 of the MMG carriers, so some of it's a bit lighter on the ground over here now for the British. So now we're going into British turn 5. So the motivation phase, basically the Kangaroo failed to remount, but was sent in the rear in the movement step, and of course the Firefly just drove away. So the infantry and the HQ with their accompanying transport are moving this way towards the house, and then again this lot are moving with the help of the Wasps, and the MMG carriers and the other platoon has occupied this building here. And that's where we end movement. So now shooting, a lot less to shoot now for the British, but getting more to a decisive phase now. So let's see how it ends up. Okay, so the AVREs were just about in range to put in a template that just scraped these 2 Pumas. Ranged in first attempt, but just again 1 short. This Piat had a little snappy shot at this Panther, but missed. And again over here the Piat missed. The flamethrowers did get 3 hits, but no ones unfortunately. And again the MMG's carriers didn't kill anything over here. So there's assault coming, and because of the angles, Grenadiers won't really be able to help, but there are 8 shots coming from the Panthers, so that should make a big difference anyway. Unfortunately, the Panthers got 5 hits, so that is enough to basically to stop the assault, so they go back. But fortunately for the British, they only lost 1 unit. So now we're going into German turn 5. Okay, so in the motivation step, the Grenadiers have finally rallied. 1 more team has moved into the forest to get into firing range. These Pumas have moved back, so they're not getting snuck up on by the infantry, and these Panthers have positioned themselves in a T formation to deny the British easy access to the objectives, and the Pumas are going to try and hose down the remaining infantry as well. And that is where we end movement, and now we go into shooting. Okay, so in the shooting phase, the HQ has been whittled down to one team, the 2IC is gone, and 1st Platoon has just got a Piat left. Over here, we have no active MMG carriers and only one active Wasp, and the team still remains pinned but unscathed from firing this turn. So we're going now into British turn 6, have to get within 8 inches of an objective this turn, otherwise the game will end. So here we go into British motivations. So it seems the prolonged fight is starting to take its toll on the British now. The HQ has not rallied and has stayed pinned. The Piat is sticking around though. The gentlemen in the forest have unpinned, but the Wasp and the MMG carrier have driven away. They've had enough, and that is where we end the motivation. So now we're going into movement. So the British need to get into position to try and keep hold of these objectives. Okay, so in the movement step, the lone Piat has moved into this building. Can get a nice side shot on this Panther. The HQ tried to dig in, but was unsuccessful. The platoon now is in the woods and moved in position onto the Panthers, and the guys in the building have just about enough room to try and get an assault in on these guys across the river. So we'll see how it ends up in the shooting phase. Okay, so this solitary Piat has managed to bail this Panther, and over here nothing happened. So was 4 hits on the Grenadiers, but not enough to pin them. Did get 2 Piat hits on the Panthers, but again did not go through the front armour. So we're going to assaults. There's plenty of assaults coming in. Okay, so we had 3 massive assaults in that round. This lone Piat went to the front of this Panther and bailed him, and then this guy got panicked and ran away. So that lone Piat has taken out these 2 Panthers and also managed to take out that Panther early on. So maybe get a man of the match if you keep on going. This lot then assaulted into the forest and pushed back the Grenadiers, but the Grenadiers have lost 2. And the British have lost a couple as well. Unfortunately, these guys got forced back again by defensive fire from the Panthers, but only lost another team, so getting a bit ropey again. But 2 teams are now contesting objectives for the British, so if this Panther were to run away, things would get very, very interesting. So here we go into German turn 6. Okay, so the Panzer Grenadiers passed their rally and last stand thanks to the HQ, but the Panther has driven away, panicked by the Piat and the guy with balls of steel over here. So he's driven over somewhere, he's gone, he's rapid. So that leaves everything rather interesting in what the German player is going to do, because he needs to get something there to hold the objective and also try and fall back onto this objective, because the man with the Piat is over here. So German movement. Okay, so far the Pumas have moved into position to eliminate the HQ. The 2 remaining Grenadier teams are going to try and get rid of the Piat, as the Piats are not so good against infantry. The HQ is set to disengage and move around to hold this objective, and the other 2 have moved over to here to do the same, and that is where we end it. So now we're going to shooting. Okay, so in the shooting, the Pumas have finally got rid of the HQ. These guys did not kill the Piat guy, and the Panthers here only managed to kill 1 of the rifle teams, and over here no casualties. So there's going to be an assault. These guys are moving into the building, and I really want this guy to smash them back out, because this guy is a living legend at the moment. So here we go. Okay, so unfortunately the Piat guy died, and they consolidate back onto the objective. These 2 Panthers then assaulted into the forest. 1 of them got taken out by a Piat, but eventually after a few turns of counter-attacking, the British broke off, and that's where we leave it. So now we're going to British turn 7. They are still within 8 inches, so still contesting the objective, so there is still some things they can do. So as we move into British turn 7, let's see if they can rally. So just the 1 platoon did not rally, so in the movement these guys are moving on to take on the HQ, while the AVREs have come around to try and put a template onto the Grenadiers to try and get rid of them. So it's still all in the balance here as we go into the shooting phase. Okay, the shooting is done. Unfortunately, the AVREs could not range in. The Piat did get a hit on the active HQ tank over here, but it bounced. So it's all on the assault here. Let's hope the British can get rid of this HQ and sneak the game. So here we go into the assault. Okay then, so basically the British went in, took one hit, didn't kill. They only got one solitary hit in assault, and then Mike went and rolled a 1. And that is it. So Sherrie just about gets it. A very costly victory for the British. So first of all, Sherrie, who is your man of the match?
Obviously the Piat guy.
Yeah, Piat guy did pretty well. And Mike, what about your man of the match?
It's got to be that Panther Command team.
Yeah, they did pretty well.
Things they took and just walked out of it was insane.
Yeah. Sherrie, anything different you would have done list-wise, deployment-wise, planning-wise?
Yeah, I probably would have been more infantry heavy. I kind of enjoyed the assaults, so it's just up to luck. So I think half there I should have rolled a bit better, but
Yeah.
that's the way it goes.
I think with your objective, I think if you'd put it in like that edge, as close, that inverted T, I think if you'd put it a bit further up, would have been a bit better, because maybe you would have been able to contest it a bit earlier on. And I definitely don't think you should put Shermans out in the open for Panthers just to kind of chew up.
Yeah.
Mike, I think I would have probably had a bit more infantry, but your Panthers definitely proved how good they can be.
Yeah, I think I would have probably swapped out one of the Panther units for a Tiger unit. I know the better spide armour on the Tigers meant I would have been a lot more likely to not get chewed up in combat. But yeah, the Panthers actually performed better than I expected, because the last time I ran them was in 2nd edition.
But no, it's a good fight. Yeah, some awkward dice. It just seemed that Mike, everything when it ever hit a Panther was as long as he doesn't get a 1. And it didn't happen that often, but it did happen that one assault, and that was just one time not to get a 1. But yeah, no, it was a good game. Nice to see you both play. I felt from the start of the game with the list, I thought the British would win it, but I felt certain decisions made it more even. But yeah, no, it was a good game. Really enjoyed playing it. Well, not playing it, moving everything around and seeing what what decisions you were making. And did you both enjoy as well?
That was a really good game. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Nice.
It was really good, yeah.
Okay, right, so I'll stop recording and get the credits rolling up and get a few photos of the MVPs, and we're done.